Hello guys, once again it's me, to pretend like always, Ready Faction. Today I am back, starting PlayStation month officially. I have not, it's pretty late now, but we went on a vacation that I had not really planned for, and when vacation, PlayStation month was happening, so I kind of messed up there. It's a little late for PlayStation month, but I'm starting anyways. And, well guys, I'll try to make, videos a little more frequently to make up for lost time. So anyways, let's get started with this month, as we will be reviewing PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 4 console looks, games, and controllers and stuff like that. So while we're at it, let's just start with the PlayStation 1. Let's start it off, shall we? So right now in the front of the console you have the memory card and the controller slot ports, and memory card slots and controller ports. Of course, you know what those are for. And then right here, you have the open button. And it says, "Never, ever, ever shall you touch the lens. Don't touch the lens." Yeah, we don't get the lens is right there. So let's close that. The PlayStation logo, interesting enough, has actually gone through it went through 20 different designs before it actually. Sony actually settled on something, and they settled on this, which I think is pretty nice, and it's been the logo ever since. And then, of course, we have the power right here, but since there's no power cord, of course, we can't do that. Reset. Then, of course, there's something you usually don't see in consoles these days. I mean, of course, there's a ventilation thing, but these are like little slits on the side of the console there on both sides, and which I found kind of weird because you don't see those on consoles these days. So I just thought I'd point that out for no exact reason. And then of course we have these weird stuff I would not take time out of video for. And then we have the AV multi output, I guess. And what it does is it's HDMI. It puts this It puts the image on the TV and the sound playing from the speakers, and of course we have the AC thing. So enough of the console. That was probably extremely boring. Just to take a look at the console if you don't have one. Yeah, that's the PlayStation. Right here is the PlayStation controller here. We have, of course, the D-pad. This is the original PlayStation controller. We have the L2 and L1, R1 and R2. We have the triangle, which stands for kind of viewpoint to change your view from the games, and square representing a piece of paper, where the triangle represents a mountain. This represents a piece of paper. I'd like to say menu, that was what I was looking for. And then X and the circle means yes and no. Yes for the circle and no for the X. Then of course we have the start and select button, and the D-pad, the somewhat like D-pad that I already mentioned. This is the original one that we all know from the PlayStation, but there's also another one I have. I guess it's like the DualShock. It's the actual DualShock for the PlayStation. It's got the analog controller, I should say. It's got bigger R2 and L2 buttons, They're a lot nicer. I don't like those thin ones. And then, of course, they have analog sticks, which is definitely a lot better for racing games. This is a lot more springy and feels better. This is a lot bigger controller, and ever since before the PS3, this has been the standard DualShock controller, and this is nice. And of course, they have the same ports and everything. So yeah, that's controllers here. Right here, the PlayStation cases. These are just some of some of them I have. I actually have a lot more than this. Well, not a lot. I have double that. If you count the ones I have some upstairs. This is in my basement. But anyways, this is just an example. They come in dual cases, and the discs are normal CD discs. I'll show you one here. Hang on. The black, these discs, as you can tell, this is very scratched. It's been used. This has been around for a while now. And these discs are black. Usually you see usually more colorful ones with silver and stuff like that. Anyways, here we go. Don't get your fingerprints on them. Wipe it off on the carpet. They have the front. They get some. This is, of course, the front. They got the compact. It's a compact disc CD, and yeah, there's nothing really there. So yeah, I think the black. the backside in this pod kind of is different from everything else, but other than that, it's normal, average compact disc. I've seen. Maybe this DVD I'm thinking of. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, this is just this PlayStation disc. This is the PlayStation startup screen. It's broken. Here we go. Meow. Now, if I remember correctly, there's a white screen before that, open around about Sony Computer Entertainment and some kind of logo. But I'm playing that off the PS2 because the PS1, unfortunately, it's power cord or somewhere, and I have no idea. So, anyways, that's the PlayStation startup screen. That's all you really. That's just the kind of basics of the PlayStation and the discs and everything, what it looks like, visuals, stuff like that. It sounds decent, I guess. I mean, it's any other 64-bit console from its generation, I guess. So everything else, I guess, is fine with the PlayStation. Now, little facts and history on the PlayStation. PlayStation was the very first console to reach 100 million units, and it was actually the very first console to reach 100 million units. You think one done it by now, but around the late 1900s or late 1990s, they really did a good job on that. PlayStation is obviously manufactured by Sony and everything like that. That's pretty obvious by now. PlayStation is actually very lucky to survive because that generation actually had 9 consoles total, including this and the Nintendo 64 and all that stuff, and only 4 we really acknowledge. We acknowledge it as normal people acknowledge it as PlayStation and the Nintendo 64. I acknowledge it as, and more people that know more about the gaming history, the PlayStation, Nintendo 64, Sega Saturn, and the Toy Jaguar. The Toy Jaguar was more of a 4th-bit console, 4th generation console, but I still call it a 5th generation. I'm just going to call it a 5th generation, yellow. And, actually the PlayStation was never supposed to be around. In fact, it was a deal gone bad by Nintendo and Sony. See, Nintendo and Sega, back in the early 1990s, Sega had released the Sega CD for the Genesis, and Nintendo thought, oh, that'd be a good idea, let's try it out. So anyways, Nintendo and Sony paired up to make this huge console add-on to the SNES, and finally, Sony officially announced it, and one day later, Nintendo confirmed they were making it with Philips instead, Sony's competitor in their market, which they weren't at the current moment, and Sony just got ticked. They went over to Sega. They did some stuff with Sega, too, I know that. Not too much, though. And so, Sony kind of didn't do much for that generation, but then I think the CEO kind of encouraged it to say, hey, let's, actually, the Nintendo and Sony have had, history back with the SNES. Someone had made a sound chip for the SNES, or the sound chip for the SNES was made by Sony. And the guy that was doing it didn't have permission, and everyone was like, oh no, curse you! But the support from the CEO supported the idea and let it go on. So there were rumors that Philips, Sony, and Nintendo were gonna make one, but that never happened. And so Sony, apparently, development of the PlayStation stopped at one point, but then the CEO convinced his employees, saying something like, Nintendo did something bad to us, they're going to do something bad to them. Well, they did do something bad to them. Reducing sales of Nintendo's products. Good job, Sony. Making more money off of that. So the PlayStation is actually a deal gone bad with Nintendo. So if Nintendo was a deal gone bad with Sony and Nintendo, if Nintendo never made that deal, or let's say the deal actually went through, I think history would have taken a major turn in gaming. Like, for example, maybe Sony and Nintendo probably would be dominating the market, and Microsoft would, Xbox will probably never exist, and if we wanted to have console gaming, it'd be the Sony and Nintendo, I don't know, the Advanced Gaming Console, the AGSC. The AGC, Advanced Gaming Console from Nintendo and Sony. That sounds so stupid. So yeah, things definitely could have taken a turn. PlayStation. The controllers went through weird prototypes. Yeah, and if I didn't mention already, the SNES add-on was supposed to be a disc add-on, which is, I don't know. Yeah, it seems like a somewhat good idea. I mean, I don't know. So anyways, guys, that's about all I have for you. The PlayStation has after about 3 generations later, we are still talking about it. First generation, they started in 5th generation, or this was a 5th generation console, I believe. And the 6th generation PS2, which actually, and I'll tell you later what it was. And the PS3, 7th generation, and the PS4 and the 8th generation here. They have been dominating the market ever since, and I don't think the PS5 might actually be a full console. I know there's been rumors lately about 8th generation being the last generation, 9th generation will not exist, but 9th generation is already existing because of the Nintendo NX. Go research Nintendo NX for a minute. You'll find Dina and stuff like that, whatever the mobile company is. Yeah, Nintendo has announced the next console, but we're going to stay on topic for a bit. Anyways, that is it. That's all for this video. Thanks, guys, for watching. I really appreciate your support. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. So anyways, guys, 2 pretend, in and out. Boom.